So who's better, Connor Salmon or Adi Akinbaye? Can Lauren Di Jaffo lace up the boots of Neil Shipperley? And who would you rather have in your team, Brian Deane or James Beattie? If you want to know the answers to all these questions, stick around because they're coming right up. But before we get into the video, if you wouldn't mind liking the video right now, it would really help this particular video reach a lot more people. And whilst you're here, we're in the final stretch of our quest for 10,000 subscribers, which is a personal dream of mine. So if you'd like to be part of the team, subscribe now and let's get on with the video. Lads, welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. It's another tier list video and today it is target men. Yeah, these are the strikers that hold the ball up, take the beating from the defenders and pitch in with a goal or two here and there. There's so many target men to pick from, so I've had to kind of bump a few out. So if your favourite target man of all time isn't in there, I'm really sorry. So anyway, let's crack on. First of all, we've got Marcelo. God, this is taking me back. These are the days when I was growing up and loving these strikers, so Marcelo really has me there. Even though he has me there, I know he wasn't better than good. He may even be average. I'm going to put him in good. He played 65 times for us and scored 25 goals before going on to Birmingham. He scored 24 for them in 70 odd games. So really I think his career probably peaked around that point. He held it up well. He could score goals as well. He was just an all-round striker, but he was a big lad, so I'm happy to put him in target men. Next up we've got Adi Akinbaye, aka Adi Akinbadbye, for those who don't know him. Adi Akinbaye was a weird sort of guy. He was rapid, he was big and strong, and you think, and he was a good footballer actually. Were he a good footballer? To be honest, I'm finding it quite hard to remember Adi Akinbaye because he didn't play that many games for us. And the games he did play, he was coming on as a sub more often than not. We bought him in January, the season we got promoted. He scored, obviously, a very, very good goal against Wednesday. I'm not sure how many more goals he scored that season. He scored at least one in the Premier League. But he only played 18 times for us. So that's probably one of the main reasons why I can't remember him that much. And for that reason, I'm going to stick him in average. He definitely wasn't poor, but if he were any better, he would have been in the team. Next up, we've got Gareth Taylor, and I think I said this in one of the tier videos before. He was my favourite player growing up. He was from a very early age. For some reason, even though everyone loved Brian Deane and Jorg Fjortoft, I liked Gareth Taylor for some reason. And he was good at times, but I think he was quite a lazy target man, really. Wasn't the strongest. Could score a banger here and there, and was quite good with his feet for a big man. But I'm going to stick him in average because, yeah, I don't remember him as being anything other than absolutely bang average. Next up we've got Andy Gray, and I don't really get this because until recently, since I've been kind of making these sorts of videos, I thought that everyone quite liked Andy Gray, but there's lots of people on forums that don't like him for some reason. He played 58 times and scored 25 goals, which I think that's quite a decent return really for a striker. He also scored some pretty important goals, and he took the penalties as well, and he always stuck them away. So I'm going to put him in good. I don't think he deserves to be any lower than Akinbaye and Gareth Taylor. So yeah, I think he deserves to be in good. He scored some goals for us. Next up we've got Paul Shaw, and I thought I'd taken him out of this, but evidently I haven't. It wasn't that much of a target man. He was okay with his feet, but he was bang average. He scored 8 goals in 35 games. And then he did the rounds around this area. He played for Rotherham, he played for Chelsea, and then he's ended up in America. So fair play to him, but yeah, mate, you were bang average. Bang average at best. Next up we've got Dave Kitson, and he's going to go in bang average as well, because to be perfectly honest, he was really, really good at Reading. When he came to us, I quite liked him, I thought he was decent, but we're in League One. So yeah, anyone kind of, unless you are absolutely banging goals in for fun and playing out of your skin, if you're in League One, you're probably going to end up in average. And for me, if it was kind of a Reading tier list, he'd have probably gone in very good, but when he came to United, he was okay, he did alright, he held the ball quite well, he chipped in with some goals, but he's nothing else other than average. So up to now, the averages are really, really taking hold of this tier list. So next up we've got Chief Wayne Allison. Oh, everyone's going to hate me for this. He was a very lovable guy, and he was average, weren't he? He was average. I'm sorry. He just was. He chips in with a goal or two, again saying the same things. He was very hard to knock off the ball, really, really, really strong. But he weren't very mobile, bless him. But what I loved about him, he always played with a smile on his face. But sorry mate, you were average, you just were. Next up, people are going to hate me even more for this one, because another one that people hate, and that's Darius Henderson. And to be perfectly honest, I've got nothing against Darius Henderson. He was what he was. He was a big, strong man. You knew what you were going to get with him. He was going to knock the defenders about. He was going to elbow them. He was going to chuck them all over the place. He may have got booked a lot. He may have got sent off more than he should have done. He scored 20 goals in 72 games, but he was such an all-rounder. And he did this at the top end of the championship table rather than kind of in League One or lower. I'm going to put him in good. Sorry. Not sorry. Next up, we've got Michael Higdon, and everyone's going to hate me for this because I'm going to put him in very... No, I'm not really. I'm joking. Michael Higdon, for me, is in between horrendous and fraud, because he came from Scotland absolutely banging goals in for fun, apparently. And when he signed for United, the picture that they used with him holding the shirt up, he looked about 40. And looking back now, he signed for us 6 years ago and he's 36 now. He's only 36. He looked more than 36 then. Obviously, we thought he was going to come in and just bang loads of goals and get us up to the championship. I remember him scoring on his debut, which I think it was a header against Bristol City at home. We lost that game. It was awful. It was really bad. I won't put him in horrendous. I won't put him in fraud, sorry. I'll put him in horrendous. He just didn't really try hard. He scored 2 goals in 15 games. And for a striker that had been banging in 40 odd goals for Motherwell, he should have been doing better than that in League One. Next up, we've got Chris Porter, and I'm really, really finding the dregs here, aren't I, to start with in this video. But everyone loved Chris Porter because when Chris Porter scored, we were on the pitch. Even though we liked him, he was bang average. Bang average, and it weren't for him scoring loads of goals for us. It would be poor. Some of them might have been penalties, some of them might have been tap-ins, but big and not very mobile in the slightest. Yeah, average. Do I put him in poor? Nah, I can't put him in poor. Poor's got to be for someone who's like barely scored any goals. Anyway, we'll move on to Connor Salmon, and I am going to put him in, I don't know, poor. I'm going to put him in poor. I think Connor Salmon's one of these players, I've said this before in videos, I think he's one of these players that, again, was a bit of a scapegoat. I think he was a confidence player, and I think his confidence was absolutely shot after missing that open net against Blackpool. I think people got on his back and people moaned about him, and I think his confidence just dropped and dropped and dropped. He's doing well in Scottish League now, so fair play to him, fair play. Next up, another one that I'm going to get absolutely hammered for, Gary Medine. I said this last year and I rated him really, really low down. Maybe I went a bit over the top, but I really didn't like Gary Medine. I thought, and it wasn't his Wednesday connections, it really wasn't. What it was, he was just so lazy. And everyone went, oh, he battled. He picked and chose his games to battle. Yeah, I remember one game in particular, I can't remember which game it was, but Gary Medine came on as a sub, and within 10 minutes, he was trying to chase down a man or a keeper or something like that. We were trying to hold on to a lead, and he just couldn't be arsed. And he'd only been on 10 minutes. If he'd have been on 60, 70 minutes, I'd have been like, all right, mate, fair enough. But he just couldn't be arsed. He obviously got sent off in that game against Brentford at home, which could have derailed our promotion season. Yeah, he scored 2 goals in one game. I think it was against someone really poor. I think it was Reading at home. They weren't doing very well. And he scored 2 goals against them, which were good finishes, but it were Reading. He scored an open net, which John Fleck put on a plate for him. There was only 3 goals in 16 games. I know he didn't start that many games, but for me, he was just average. I'm going to put him in average. I don't think he deserves to be on the level of some of the other lads who've scored a lot more goals and put a lot more effort in. Next up, we've got Richard Creswell. Now, I would love to put him in very good because I was a big fan of Creze, massive fan of Creze. Always put 110% effort in every single game. He played over 100 games for us, scored some goals for us as well, but It was his never say die attitude and just scrapping for everything. And for that, mate, you're going in good. I know I've cut your head off, but you're going in good. Next up, we've got Ashley Ward. He only scored 5 goals in 33 games. But he was that player that you never wanted to come up against. Kind of like a Darius Henderson. He put himself about. It was very, very strong, very hard to knock off the ball, and just created goals for others around him. And that's what it was for us. I'm going to put him in good. I think every team that he's played for would probably say the same as well. Just a very, very good pro. Next up, we've got Ifianora, and he's going to go in poor, I think. Can't remember him too well. It was a long time ago. He didn't get many games. He didn't score many goals. He came from Gillingham, where he was one of their top goal scorers. Scored quite a few for him, but it just never worked out for us. He scored 1 goal in 7 games. Every time I saw him, he was pretty poor. Next up, James Hansen, and I am going to put him in average, but he deserves an honourable mention. That season that we got promoted to the Championship with 100 points, if we wouldn't have brought him in, we may have struggled, because at that time, Leon Clark was injured, if I'm rightly saying. Billy Sharp was struggling to kind of, not to score goals, but struggling to create goals, because the ball was going up front and it was just coming straight back. And we needed a big striker up front because Matty Dome wasn't holding it up, Billy Sharp wasn't holding it up. So James Hansen came in and did that job brilliantly for Billy Sharp. So average, but honourable mention, deserves it. Next up, we've got Brian Dean, and I'm going to just put him in elite. I'm going to be honest, I'll put my hands up. I don't remember Brian Dean when we first got him, because that was before my time. The second time we got him, I was just coming into football. Really enjoyed watching that Nigel Spackman side, with obviously Fjortoft, Dean, Vaspabokis, Wayne Quinn, Graham Stewart, all those types of players. And Brian Dean was excellent for the first half of that season. He played 24 games in that stint and scored 11 goals, which ain't bad at all, really, is it? Obviously, before that, he played 197 games and scored 82 goals. And the third time he came back, let's just not talk about it. If it was up to me, I'd put him in very good, because all I saw him in was the 24 games that he played and then the 2 games that he played right at the end of his career. But obviously, I know that he's elite. I know that he's elite from the stories from everyone. So I'm going to stop everyone from absolutely laying into it, and I'm going to put him straight in elite. Next up, we've got James Beattie. And I'm sorry, guys, but I'm putting him straight in elite. Straight. He just deserves it. James Beattie is probably, other than Billy Sharp, the best Sheffield United forward in my time. Yep, we paid a lot of money for him. We bought him for 4 million, we sold him for 4 million. What was the point in selling him, really? We'd have got promoted that season. He was banging the goals in the season before, and then he banged in the goals the season after. And then we just hit the panic button and sold him in January. But big, strong, scored goals. He was just the perfect player for us at that time. He scored 34 goals in 62 games, and I think out of all these players that I've looked through up to now, he's probably got the highest kind of goal ratio. Just gutted that we sold him. Gutted. Next up, we've got Rob Hulse. And this is tough. This is harsh for me to say right now, but I'm going to put him in very good. And the reason for that was his injury. If it wasn't for his injury, we'd have probably stayed up in the Premier League. We would have stayed up in the Premier League that season. We just would have. He was excellent in that Premier League season, Rob Hulse. Excellent. So good. Big, strong, held the ball up really well, brought others into the game, scored, was the top goal scorer. I'm pretty sure he finished the top goal scorer as well. Yeah, he scored 8 goals in that Premier League season in the first half of the season, which is excellent for a newly promoted club. Look at us right now, we're 7th in the league, and Mousse's got 5 and John Fletcher's got 5. So look at that. It just shows how many goals Rob Hull scored and kind of the impact that he had on the team. But he had that injury, and then it was never the same again. He played another 30 odd games and didn't score another goal. But I think the main reason for that is that James Beattie were in that team as well, and it was difficult to get 2 big lads in the same team. Plus James Beattie were banging goals in left, right and centre, so Rob Hulse at the side of James Beattie just looked like a poor man's Beattie. Yeah, devastating after that injury. Just were never the same player again. Kind of like Paul Coops. I think after the injury, I'd probably say he was average, but before the injury, he was elite, 100%. So I'm going to be nice and I'm going to put him in very good. Next up, we've got Craig Beattie, and he's going straight in horrendous. What a terrible, terrible striker he was. And we started him up front in the playoff final as well. What a stupid thing to do that was. He played 13 games up front, 13, and scored 1 goal. Jesus, to go from James Beattie to Craig Beattie within a few weeks is just horrendous. And then after that, he went on to play for Swansea, scoring 7 goals in 45 games. Watford, Hearts, St Johnstone, Barnet, Dundee. Oh my God, what a poor striker. And that guy was playing in the final of the Championship playoffs for us. No wonder we didn't go up. Anyway, I've put him in horrendous. He deserves to be in horrendous. Actually, he probably deserves to be in poor. No, whatever. Poor, horrendous, it doesn't really matter. Next up, we've got Neil Shipperley, and I'm putting him in elite, guys. I am. You can't see his face, but I'm putting him in elite. What a player that guy was. He held the ball up so well. He was the biggest, strongest monster I've ever seen. Fair enough, now he's piled on the pounds and he's in the papers for the wrong reason. But that guy got us promoted to the Premier League. Steve Cabot scored some goals. Danny Webber scored some goals, but he was an ever-present. Well, pretty much ever-present. I can't remember. But he played up front with Cabot and Webber, and he scored himself some goals too. He scored 11 goals in 39 games, and that's excellent for a big striker. Anyway, for me, as a Sheffield United fan, he was elite. And finally, Laurent Dejafo. I'm gonna, I don't know where to put it. Well, I do know where to put him, but I don't want to upset people. Laurent Dejafo, I think he was loved by a lot of Sheffield United fans. Again, scored against Wednesday, which always going to help. Big, strong, held the ball up well, like I've said about most of these guys. Very, very fragile, because I heard he had like metal plates in his back and stuff like that. The man was not the greatest of footballers, but he used his body well. He created chances for other players. He scored 11 goals in 69 games, which isn't the best, but you knew what you were getting with him, and I don't think he started too many games. I think most of his games were coming off the bench, but he did all right. He did all right back in those days, and I'm going to stick him in average. Probably deserves to be there. And that's about it. So we've got Dino, Beattie, and Neil Shipperley in elite. Rob Hulse in very good. Nobody in fraud, but we have got Higden and Craig Beattie in horrendous. Both definitely deserve to be there. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, guys. If you haven't liked the video already, please make sure you do so. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do so. Again, on our way to 10k. We're 744 subscribers away from 10k. Woo! So yeah, comment down below, let me know what you think of this tier list, where you will put these players, and stay in good nick.